Oh yes, it's Friday. And you know what that means. It's 5-Minute Friday. Today, we're talking ISO. Let's go ahead, brighten things up. All right, guys. Hey, welcome back. My name is Brian, the camera guy. On this channel, I review Sony cameras and lenses and also give you tips and tricks and camera basics like in these 5-Minute Friday videos. If that's something you're into, make sure you smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell notification. Let's get that clock going. We got 5 minutes on the clock. Let's talk about ISO. All right, so what is ISO? ISO is the digital brightness of your image. The lower the ISO number, darker your image is gonna be. Higher the ISO number, the brighter your image is gonna be. You don't wanna get too bright. You don't want that ISO to get too high. Why? Because then you're gonna get grain in your footage. What's grain? Grain is digital noise. So remember those old film cameras or those old videos and you see all those little pixels, little dirty pixely garbage? That is gonna be high ISO noise. We don't want that. We need to find the right ISO. What are we gonna do? Well, first off, you got low ISO numbers. So right now I am shooting at ISO 1000. If I were to lower the ISO, it's gonna get a whole lot darker in here. Let's go ahead and show you what I'm talking about. So we're going from 1000 as low as I can. Currently sitting at ISO 200 in S-Log3. It's pretty dark. Let's go ahead and brighten things back up. Get us ourselves up to 1000. There we go, back to perfect exposure. So as you lower the ISO, the darker the image becomes. So let's go ahead and brighten things up a little bit and raise up that ISO. So now as we raise up the ISO, as you can see, the image is getting way brighter. And right now I do have the camera at 64,000 ISO. Man, this is really bright. Turn the light down, please. As you can also tell, there's probably a lot of noise, a lot of grain in the footage, and it's not looking so great. So right now we're at the 64,000 ISO. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change some settings to kind of give you what normal exposure would look like. We're gonna stop down that aperture. If you haven't watched my aperture video, then you definitely want to go ahead and do that now. All right, so this is as low as I can get. This is f22. The image doesn't look bad, not much of a problem here. Just got that really high ISO. So we're probably gonna see a lot of noise up in here. Just not the greatest camera settings that we can set up. Not the most optimal way to do it. Now we can go ahead and lower our ISO. We'll do that. All right, so now we're back to perfect exposure. So now we're looking good, we're looking crisp, we're looking sharp. Anytime that you cut your ISO in half. So for example, I'm shooting at 1000 ISO right now. If I want to cut that in half, drop that down to 500, I can do that. But then I have to change one of my settings. I either have to change my shutter speed or my aperture. Now, if you watched my previous videos regarding shutter speed, you want to keep the 180 roll. I'm shooting at 24 frames per second. 1/50 is proper shutter. Give me that proper motion blur. Go ahead, watch that video. The link will be down in the description below. The ISO, if we drop that to 500, we have to do something. So what we have to do is we have to open up the aperture, let more light in. But when we let the light in and we open up that aperture, we're gonna need to, if we go from 1000 down to 500 in the ISO, we're gonna have to drop down a step. I'm currently shooting it at 4.0. I'm gonna have to drop down to at least 2.8 to match the same exact settings. I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. Let's drop down. 500 ISO, 2.8, and we should get pretty much the same image. It's not bad, not bad. Pretty much the same image. So we're looking pretty good. Definitely see a lot more darkness up in here, but image is looking pretty nice. Looking pretty nice still. I'm gonna go ahead and go back to f.4. Bokeh is great, but at the end of the day, I don't like that f4 look, especially here in the studio. What is ISO doing? It's giving me that fake lighting. Different cameras are gonna have different ISO settings. So what do I mean by that? 1000 ISO might be a little bit different on each camera. So you're gonna have to test and play with every camera to figure out where the sweet spot is. The general rule of thumb is you wanna keep that ISO as low as possible. You wanna keep that down. If you can get that around 2, 4, or maybe 600, that's where you wanna keep it. For this camera, I feel perfectly capable going all the way up to 6400 ISO. You can even get away with 12,800 and your image can still look good. Or as I showed, 64,000 can still get you a decent image if you adjust properly, but then you're gonna have to adjust more than likely your aperture, or you're gonna have to have an ND filter. Ooh, what's an ND filter? Great question. I think that's another topic for another 5-Minute Friday. Let's tune in for that one. But if you have any questions, go ahead and leave those down in the comments below. Love to have a conversation with you. Let's talk some ISO. If you like this video, I'm sure you're gonna like a different 5-Minute Friday. It's up on the screen right now. Go ahead and click on it. Click on it right now. Go ahead. Let's learn something new. See you in that next video. Thanks so much for watching. Like, subscribe, ring the bell. Thanks. Click.